This is the Witching Hour Magical Podcast with your host, Ginger Quinlan.
Hello and welcome to a brand new week, a brand new energy. I'm Ginger. I'm delighted to be here with you today. Happy solstice, everyone. Beautiful, sunny energy coming through. Well, mostly, unless you're in the Pacific Northwest, which is all rainy and gloomy. I'm wishing you bright, sunny energies today. And for us in the South, it's super hot, super muggy, super uncomfortable. Hot, hot, hot. So everybody's kind of dealing with these odd energies of the weather and kind of the odd energies of this particular summer solstice. So the summer solstice really represents your passion, your heat, your new beginnings, manifesting what you want, putting out to the universe what you'd like to attract into your life, and then making it happen. So happy solstice. I'm wishing all these beautiful things for you as I go into this podcast. And I want to talk about the energies of this particular summer solstice. Litha, for the pagan people, Litha is the beginning of the fire ceremonies of summer, where we celebrate harvest, where we celebrate planting, because you're planting, then you're harvesting and replanting, succession planting, and then reharvesting. And this goes on all the way until September, when the final harvest happens. So this is a time of really planting the seeds of what you want to harvest over the summer months. Now, if you're in an opposite hemisphere, you are doing the exact opposite right now, and you are being quiet and you're waiting to plant and harvest. So if that applies to you, welcome to this podcast on the other side of the planet. I'm in the United States in Georgia, which is like a muggy, hot oven right now. And I'm sitting here in my office looking out, going, well, summer has started with a bang. Today, this morning, I went out and put gifts in my garden for the fairies, because not only is it summer solstice, the celebration of summer and the heat and all that hot, fiery energy, but it's also the celebration of the veil between the living and the other realms, the fairy realm, angelic realm, the spirit realm, the alien realms, being wide open, which means it's easy to access these other realms. Because I really resonate with fairy energy and angelic energy, I like to leave presents for the fairy folk out in my fairy garden. I have one big giant garden in my front yard that is devoted to plants and herbs and fairies and all things magical. It's where I like to go when I'm too stressed out, or I'm worried about something, or I want to connect to the spirit realm, because my father was a master gardener. He breeded irises, crossbreeded them, created new breeds, and I basically grew up in the garden with him. The earliest pictures of me, I'm in a stroller in the garden. Other pictures, I have my feet planted in the dirt while my dad is standing there with a shovel, being all proud of me, and I am a tree planted in the garden. We used to do this tree game all the time. So when I go out to my magical fairy garden, when it's not a gazillion degrees here in Georgia, I like to go out really early in the morning and just see what's growing and be in the energy and totally feel what's going on there. I smell my dad's Old Spice aftershave. I can hear his voice saying to me, I'm here, I'm with you. Sometimes the tree, I have a big plum tree in this garden, it will start just randomly moving like the wind's blowing, but there is no wind happening. Or a dragonfly will come and sit on a flower right next to me. It happens all the time. So I want to talk about that today. I want to talk about spirits and fairies and connecting to that. I also want to talk about what it's like to do that every single day as a medium and talk about, are you a medium? Do you know if you're a medium? Do you hear voices? Do you see things that other people don't see? Are you picking up on frequencies that are bigger than the living realms frequencies that we normally feel every single day? Let's talk about all of that. Let's dive in and welcome to the Witching Hour Magical Podcast. So let's talk about mediumship. What is it? For me, when I started my journey into being a medium, I was 10. We moved from Washington State in Richland, Washington, in the desert of Washington, where my mom and dad and my sister and 2 brothers all were pretty happy. I felt like I was happy. I don't have any bad memories of Washington State. Then my dad got transferred to a different job and we moved to Colorado. So as a 10-year-old moving to Colorado, it was a huge adjustment and a huge awakening for me as a medium, which at 10 years old, you don't know that at all. But my journey started as a medium in a very haunted house. Oh my gosh, it was so haunted. I would see things happening in this house that nobody else but me saw. And I knew that only I saw it because I would whip around and hear a voice and look at my sister and brothers who were watching Gilligan's Island in the basement with me. And nobody was doing that but me. I was the only one hearing a woman's voice say, "Can you tell me where my daughter is?" And I was like, what? Because I'm 10. I don't know what's going on. It scared me. I would have my hair pulled. I would get pinched. I would see a stream of spirits coming down the stairs of the house into the basement and all come straight at me. And I'd be sitting there shaking and feeling cold. And my sister and brothers were sitting on the floor in front of the big old console TV watching McHale's Navy and Gilligan's Island and I Dream of Jeannie, and I'm sitting there going, do you guys see this? Nobody's responding, and I was scared to death. That's how it started for me. As I got older and went into puberty, it got way more intense, where I was seeing spirits around people just out and about every day in the world. Like if you went shopping, the grocery store, you would see a person pushing their grocery cart and picking up groceries. I would see the people pushing their grocery carts as I walked next to my mom, helping her. But I would also see shadows around people. I would see balls of light around people. I would hear voices talking to me from those people that nobody was seeing except me. And they would say things to me like, could you give a message to Terry? Could you give a message to Angie? Could you tell me how this happened to me? Oh, I died of this or I died of that. And they're showing me how they died. It was torture for me because I didn't know what was happening. I thought I was cuckoo for Cocoa Puffs for sure. So it was super disruptive in my little teenage world. Even going to school was super hard because I got bullied because I was tall, I was skinny, I had great big blue eyes that looked too big for my face, and little scrawny braids that my mom would put me in every single day, or curl my hair like Shirley Temple with those pink squishy pokey curlers, right? Remember those if you're older? I wore those every night of my life as a kid, and they were torture devices to make your hair look pretty. Yeah. So I got bullied big time. We also were not allowed to wear jeans, pants in our family until I reached high school. We always wore a dress, and my mom made all our clothes. So our clothes were like below our knees constantly. And that wasn't okay because it was the 70s and you should be wearing bell bottoms and makeup and have great looking big floofy hair. And I didn't have any of that. I was Geekazoid Deluxe, and I got teased and bullied. And not only that, I was seeing spirits, dead people walking alongside the kids in the hallway. I would see spirits next to the teacher, standing there looking at them, trying to talk to them while the teacher was talking to us. It was a constant barrage of energies. And not only was I seeing good spirits, but I was having interactions with not good spirits in my house. My bedroom was in the basement of our very haunted brick, like 3,000 square foot house. It was 2 stories, and my parents felt like I needed to live in the basement when I got to be 13. So I moved to the basement, which I didn't want to do because I already knew that all the spirits came from there. And they built me a nice bedroom right off of the laundry room. The laundry room sewer backed up every single month. It was constantly smelly and wet in the basement, which meant that my room would flood every month too with sewer water. So my room always had a funky smell to it, besides the weird things that were happening in it. My parents would tell us to go to bed. We always went to bed at 8 o'clock every single night until I got married at 19 and left home. We were in bed at 8 o'clock every single night. I guess that's when my parents said, that's enough. No more kid stuff. So I would crawl into bed. Mom would say goodnight, turn off the lights, and then my room came alive. I had hands reaching out for my body from the walls. I had faces coming down from the ceiling talking to me, like just a bodiless face giving me messages or asking me questions or screaming at me. I had hands coming up through my bed. It truly was a horror movie situation in my bedroom every single night that we lived in this freaking house. I would wake up with scratches, bruises. I didn't sleep. I was awake pretty much all night. I was also sick all the time through my childhood. I was super sensitive to food, sensitive to detergents, sensitive to everything, really, which I think helped me to connect to the other side. I just didn't know that's what was happening to me. I truly thought I was very crazy, maybe insane, maybe totally an alien. That's what I said all the time. I'm just an alien. And I couldn't tell anybody what was happening to me. How do you put into words that last night while I was in the bathtub, I got pulled underwater and almost drowned, but I couldn't see who did that to me? How do you say to your parents, I'm getting scratched and bit and grabbed all night long while everybody's sleeping and I can't see who's doing it? I just see hands, or I just see a face and teeth, or I just hear voices. You cannot say that. Plus, my family was super strict and religious, and it was an abusive household where children were not supposed to do anything but put their happy face on. So I spent a lot of time walking around with a fake happy face, not telling anybody what was going on because I couldn't. And it was so incredibly hard. And I would look for books in the library about what I was experiencing in my school library. There was nothing. I found a book on dreams, which I found fascinating, but I went, well, I wasn't asleep when all this happened to me. I was awake. I found books on meditation, which I tried to do. It made it worse. I found books on like Seth Speaks, where he was channeling, but I didn't understand it all. I ended up reading the Bible like 3 times because I thought maybe of all the books out there, we'll talk about this. And it didn't so much as it kind of made me more scared. It just made me go, I'm going to hell. Then I go, no, I'm in hell. I need to get out of hell. Why am I in hell? But I thought maybe it's because I didn't believe as strongly as I should. But I knew that wasn't true either. Because when I did go to church, and we went to church all the time, I would sit in church and listen to the preacher talk about all this hellfire and brimstone stuff because we were Southern Baptist. And I would see angels coming out of the roof of the church. And I knew they were angels. They looked so beautiful and radiant. And I had a peaceful, joyful feeling. I love that. And I would think the pastor just needs to stop talking and look up and feel what's going on. And I liked that part of church. But at the same time, I went, it can't be that. I'm praying. I'm going to church. I believe in God. I believe in a higher power. I don't think I'm a bad person. Why do I have hell going on every single night in my room? So I got older and I got married at 19 and had a child at 21, my son. And during that span of being pregnant with my son, I actually got really angry about what was happening to me because even though I was trying not to share what was happening to me with my new husband, because I didn't want him to think I was nuts, even though I felt nuts most of the time, I just kind of shoved it all down and said, that's enough. That's enough. No more of this. I'm a grown up now. I'm getting ready to have a child. I need to be stable and happy and healthy for my baby boy. So I, in essence, put up a boundary with the other side without even knowing that I was doing that. I had no idea. I still hadn't found any books that talked about what was happening to me. I even went to a therapist at one point, and he said I was a multiple personality after one visit. I was like, no, I'm not. I still feel like me most of the time, unless I have some sort of spirit interaction while I'm awake and they want me to see something so deeply and feel it so deeply, then I absolutely didn't feel like me. But then I was right back to me again. I was not walking around buying different clothes for my different personality or talking in a weird voice or doing any of that kind of stuff. No, I wasn't doing that. I was just trying to be me every single second of every single day, and getting invaded by spirits was not part of my plan. So I said, that's enough. Boundaries up. And it did turn off for a little while. However, as I got closer to my delivery date, something triggered. I got way more sensitive, more psychic. I always had premonitions. I always knew things about people. I could see into people and know who they were and what they were thinking, what they were feeling. I could totally just go there. I could see what was going on in their lives and what they needed to watch out for. I had no idea what to do with that information. So my putting up a boundary shut it down for a little while, but then having my son opened it right back up again. and it was terrible. It was so hard. I was not living in a haunted apartment, so I knew it wasn't my apartment. I went, it's me. It is me. They are coming to me because of something I am doing or not doing. So I kept searching. I kept looking for books. Still didn't find a whole lot on it. I found a lot of things about Reiki. I found things out about dreams. That was about it. I went on to have another child in 83, and it was wonderful. I had my daughter. I was sick the entire time I was pregnant with her, which made me even more sensitive. I was totally wide open, sensitive the entire time I was pregnant with my daughter, Melissa. And James, my son, who's also very sensitive, both my kids are super psychic sensitive people, was my light while I was going through all this. He was huggy and lovey and sweet as could be. I had fun being a mom with him and growing up with him, really, because I was only 21 when I had him. And all the while, all this kind of energetic interference was happening. And I wondered sometimes if he saw it, if my daughter felt it when she was a baby, if my family was aware that this was going on behind the scenes. I was pretty sure they didn't have a clue. So I had my daughter. That was wonderful. She was beautiful. I was super happy with all of it. And then we went to go see The Exorcist, my husband and I. I wanted to see it in the worst way. I was always fascinated with horror movies. I was always fascinated with movies about things that go bump in the night because, of course, I was experiencing things that go bump in the night. So there you go. So we went to go see The Exorcist in the theater. Biggest mistake. Because I opened everything up to the other side, except it was the dark parts of the other side that began to visit me all over again, just like they did when I was a little girl, although now I was an older girl and I was married with 2 kids. We came home from seeing the movie and I felt so jacked up for weeks. I felt like there were people walking through me. I felt like I would be me for a moment and then something cold would come through me and I would see things about murders, about vicious things. I didn't know what that was. If I watched a TV show about somebody who was murdered or missing, I felt what was going on with that person who was killed, and I could see exactly what happened and who the murderer was. It was horrible because I didn't know what to do with that. There just wasn't information for me to fall back on. It was super hard, honestly. And I don't want to sound like a victim with this. I just want to share my journey as to how I progressed into mediumship and was probably being energetically groomed to do this work from the age of 10, honestly. So my introduction to having negative spirits jump you happened with seeing The Exorcist, because I totally opened my energy up watching that movie and feeling the demon inside of Linda Blair in the movie, and also feeling the power of the priest. And I thought, if I could harness the energy of the priest and exercise myself from this, I would do it. So I went on a hunt for holy water. I couldn't find it. I wasn't Catholic. I was Southern Baptist. I asked my pastor to baptize me again. He didn't know why. I thought, oh, if you baptize me, this will stop. It didn't. He baptized me and it got worse. Although I started seeing angels around me all the time. I started having spirits come to me asking for help. And I was older, so I was able to kind of figure out what was interacting with me and who was interacting with me, but I still didn't know how to help them. I didn't even know who to ask. Who do I ask to help me with this? I told my pastor, finally, something's wrong with me. This is happening. And I kind of shared a little smidge of what I was experiencing. And my pastor said, let's pray. I went, oh, here we go. So I prayed with him. He said, cast the demons out. You are blessed, blah, blah, blah. And it didn't change anything. It actually brought more spirits into my awareness. This went on until I turned 28 and I got divorced. And after my divorce, I met a man who changed my whole world. Again, he was pagan. He was a witch. I was always fascinated with witchcraft, magic, energy. I liked it. My next door neighbor at our haunted house was also a witch, and I liked her, and I would help plant her herb garden, and I would talk with her about the moon and the phases of the moon and all of that, and she was really my introduction to the craft and to all things magical. And even though I had these interactions with spirits, I really liked everything about energy and magic and just being in magical energy. So I had her when I was in my teens, 17, talking to me about the moon and the stars and herbs and how we're all connected to the earth and what certain herbs do and what to do with candles and how pets can interact with you and all of that. She was lovely. I loved this woman. And then I met this magical man who I also fell in love with. And I finally said, I have this weird thing that goes on with me, and you just need to know it because I've kept it quiet for too long. And I trusted him enough to say, I don't know how to make it stop or how to deal with it. So I told him everything. And he validated me. He said, well, you need to learn about your psychic powers. I went, what? Psychic powers? All right. I've heard of that. I listened to a psychic on the radio, and she made me feel like I wasn't all the way crazy, but she did readings for people. She didn't really talk about how it worked or anything like that. But I knew she knew stuff about people, and I thought that was amazing, and I was like her. So Chris took me to a metaphysical store. We went to Isis bookstore in Colorado, and that was huge for me. It changed everything. Every book I could ever want, every kind of question that I had was right there in that store. And I met people who helped me deal with what I was going through. And then I found that I could do readings for people through tarot cards because Chris bought me my first deck of tarot cards, Tarot of the Cat People. And I worked with those constantly. I love them. I couldn't get enough of them. I was like, this is awesome. And I realized that while I was throwing cards and practicing, just practicing on my own, I could channel what I knew into those cards energetically and get answers from the cards and feel a bit more like myself. I felt grounded. I saw angels come in around me while I was throwing cards. And I said to Chris, I want to practice doing this. So Chris was a biker. He had all his biker friends come to our house all the time. They would bring their girlfriends, their wives. And I started practicing doing readings for all of these people that Chris knew, who would come and work on their bikes together in the moon, would hang out, we'd barbecue and drink beer and stuff like that. And just basically it was a nice community of people. So I started reading for all of the women. And I worked a job at a convenience store. I had a full-time job. So I worked in a convenience store full-time, and I actually started having these women come to the convenience store with their friends, wanting to book appointments with me or just stop what I'm doing and throw some cards right then. And I couldn't. I couldn't. I was working. So I said, if I started doing readings out of my kitchen in my apartment, would you think your friends would like to do that? And if I started charging like $15 for a half hour reading, do you think your friends would like that? And they were all like, yes, yes, yes. And I got so many phone calls and so many people just showing up at my convenience store that I worked at. I started doing readings on the weekends in my kitchen and ended up quitting my full-time job because I made more money doing this with the readings, and that got me going. That energy that bothered me all the time was now being focused and channeled. However, I still didn't know anything about boundaries. I didn't know anything about protection. I didn't know how to cleanse myself. I was sick all the time. I was working with people, hearing their deepest, darkest secrets. And I was the keeper of secrets and the person who was showing them what was coming up, how it was coming up, what was going to happen, who they were going to meet, what kind of jobs they were going to have, all of that. And then all of a sudden, it changed. One more time. I got so many people coming in and out of my house. It was uncomfortable in my house. And I decided I needed to go find a place to do readings. So I thought about doing that. I kind of searched around. I didn't really find a good place for me, a place that felt like home for another probably 6 years. We ended up moving to California, stayed there for 2 years almost, and then moved back to Colorado. And it was when I moved back to Colorado, I got divorced from Chris. We went our separate ways, and I needed to go find a place to do readings. I did not want to bring it into my house again, but I couldn't find a place. So I again brought it into my house, had issues with my house feeling bad, didn't really know what to do about it. And then finally, I found a place that became my spiritual home. And that's where the bulk of my growth and my indoctrination is probably the best word into protection and boundaries and dealing with my gifts and mediumship occurred. I was doing card readings there probably 3 days a week, all day long. For people who signed up ahead of time, I was one of the house readers and one of the busiest house readers. And in the middle of throwing cards for a lady, I suddenly had a message from her father who had just died like 2 days previously. And she hadn't told me that. And all of a sudden, I'm picking him up in my cards. And I am delivering this message to her so easily. She bursts into tears. It scares me to death. I'm like, why are you crying? Did I make you do that? I didn't know what to do. I hadn't really seen people grieving before in person and felt it. So I didn't know what to do. But the messages did not stop. I couldn't stop it. It was just like, ugh, out of my mouth, all of it, all these messages for her from her dad about how he died, what happened, because I didn't know what happened to him. They found him on the side of the road. And I'm telling her everything that happened. I didn't know he was on the side of the road until he told me. And she's looking at me, huge, wide eyes, crying, gasping. I'm like, oh my God, what am I doing? And I finished up all the messages. All the lights in the building went out when I was finished. And we're both sitting there in the dark of this little room that I did my readings in. And she goes, how did you do that? And I said, your dad told me all of it. And all the lights came back on. That's how it started for me. I talked to the owner of the metaphysical store and told her, this happened in my reading, totally freaked me out. What is wrong with me? And she just tapped my hand and said, honey, you're a medium. And I went, I don't know what that is. And she told me. She said, there's nothing wrong with you. You talk to the dead, they talk to you, and you are to deliver their messages. I was like, holy crap. I finally have an answer, and I've waited all this time to figure out why I'm such a weirdo and I can do this stuff. So fast forward, 7 years go by. I work at Metamorphosis bookstore in Colorado for 7 years. I got my own office, and then I met my third husband. I've been married a lot of times. I had to learn a lot of lessons about relationships. So I did. I learned so many things from people, and I learned so many things about addiction and abuse and all the things that go on in relationships with people. And I had to experience it all myself. I really feel like that was my purpose for meeting all of these people that came into my life that were good friends and then not friends, that were married and then not married, that would come in and teach me big lessons and go out of my life. And all of that made me better at being a medium, being a psychic, understanding people, and doing my work. Because if you have all those lessons happen to you, you're going to totally relate to what's happening in other people's lives. And since I could absolutely jump into people's psychic stream, talk to their mediumship loved ones, and give all this information, because I could remote view into people's lives, which means you just look deeply into their soul, into their house, into their job, see who's around them, see what's happening, and share it all and give all the options of what's coming up for them, because I would see that too. All these lessons with people occurred in my life. And it was hard. I had people leave and come in all the time. So I married my third husband. He couldn't find a job in Colorado. So I said, let's sell our houses. I had a house when I met him. He had a house. Let's sell our houses, and you put your resume out everywhere. He was an IT worker. So he did, and he got hired in South Carolina. We put our houses on the market the day 9/11 happened. While the buildings were going up in smoke, our real estate agent was pounding signs into our front yards to sell our houses. Our houses sold really quickly. We moved to South Carolina, and I decided I was going to open an angel store in South Carolina. I wanted to do that. I wanted to open a metaphysical store, but all my friends said, oh no, you'll be burned at the stake because it's really, really religious. It's like the armpit of religion there. I was like, oh no, 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 no. So it scared me. But you know, when I got off the plane in South Carolina, I went, oh my God, this place is amazing. And it's home to me. I always, always, always struggled so much in Colorado. It never felt like the right place for me energetically. It was just like struggle, struggle, struggle. Everybody in South Carolina was so polite and just wonderful and open. They'd say yes, ma'am, and no, ma'am. And they'd look you in the eye without mugging you, because you get mugged in Colorado if somebody looked you in the eye and they didn't know you. So I was like, oh my God, I love this place. And I want it to be my home. So I was there for 15 years. I had a store there that started out as an angel store, and I called it Angelic Whispers. I rented a 125-year-old slave house. I didn't know that's what it was when I rented it. I just thought it was a cute little 600 square foot shop space that I could open and sell angels. I would still be connected to beautiful energy. And it was so cool because people would drive by my little shop. I didn't have a sign out yet. You had to get signs approved, and it took forever to get it approved. But there was this magic happening with that place. People would stop in and think it was the coffee shop that it was before I took it over. And they would go, oh my God, it's an angel store. and they loved it. And then they would say, "Can you get this incense? Or can you get this oil? Or can you get some candles?" And it was all energetic products. And I would say, "Yeah, I can." So I started bringing in energetic products. And then I started having the pagan community show up in my shop because they heard that I had incense and oils and candles. And they started asking for pagan items. And I went, "Okay." So I started bringing in some witchy stuff. I brought in Buddhist type products. I brought in energies that would kind of cover all spirituality. And the whole time I was doing that, the energy of my little shop was ramping up and becoming very haunted because it was a slave house and there was a cemetery across the street from me. I also started doing readings in my little 600 square foot shop, and there was not enough room for the people coming to check it out. So I expanded 6 months later into a bigger space. When I expanded, probably 3 months after I expanded, one of my friends sent me an email about a research project. And this brings me to the next evolution of being a medium. So I read the email, and it was all about being tested as a medium and getting certified with Windbridge Research Center and Forever Family Foundation. Both of those were afterlife foundations and centers who would study mediums and certify them as real. So I did a 2-year triple blind study with Julie and Mark Beischel, who would do phone calls with me and give me the name of a person, a discarnate, a dead person. And I was to read that person and give them information about that person. My person was Barbara. It could have been any Barbara in the universe. There are a gazillion Barbaras out there, but they would just give you their first name and then you would have to read them. And the first time I did it, I got off the phone. They don't tell you if you're right or wrong. You just give the information, they document it, they hand it to the sitter, the person who is connected to Barbara, and they don't know if it's right or wrong. The sitter doesn't give them any information until later. So this went on for 2 years, and I would get off the phone and go, "I don't know if I did a good job. I don't even know if I was right." And it was very challenging and frustrating. I have to say it was pretty frustrating because you don't know. You don't know if you're right. You have that feeling of, yes, I made a connection. Yes, I gave information, but did I get the right Barbara? Well, it turns out I almost was not certified because they actually had 2 Barbaras in this triple blind study. And I didn't know that, and they didn't know that until the whole thing was over with. And the very last testing was actually pretty amazing because the mediums who remained in the study got to actually do the last part of the study with the sitters listening. So all of the sitters who participated and all of the mediums who actually got through the testing process got to do a phone call with Julie, Dr. Julie, while the sitters listened. So my turn came up to do the phone call. Sitters are listening. She starts telling me, "Can you just do a reading on Barbara?" So I start doing the reading. Turns out one of the other sitters, not the sitter who would have been my Barbara's connection, starts crying. She goes, "She's talking about my mom. I don't know this. This is all behind the scenes because I can't hear them, but Julie can. So turns out I had been reading this other sitter's Barbara for 2 years, and that's how I got certified. Dr. Beischel actually wrote a paper on it, and there are no names mentioned, but we all have numbers. So I saw my number in there and I went, holy crap, I've been reading her Barbara the whole time, not the Barbara that was assigned to me. And that's how I got certified. So I am honored to be one of 21 people in the world who is certified from this triple blind study. And it's let me work with some amazing mediums. I've done some benefits for Forever Family Foundation where I got to meet Kim Russo. I got to meet Janet Nohovac, some of the other incredible mediums out there like Jamie Lynn, just some awesome, amazing people. Teresa Caputo was part of that. All of these people have been certified by Windbridge, and it totally changed my life. And here's why. They all had books. They all had papers written. They all had experiences with being a medium, and they were publishing right and left what they had gone through, how they got there. All of a sudden, all this information that I needed and didn't have before was right there at my fingertips. I learned about spiritualism. I learned about how to be a better medium, how to control what was going on, so I wasn't getting assaulted energetically all the time. I learned all the ins and outs of protection, and I learned how to really take care of myself while I was doing readings. It was such an incredible blessing for me. And it saved me. It changed my life so drastically. It was like a sudden masterclass in mediumship. And that's how I got started. I mean, really started. Because all of a sudden, I was in this group of people who were being brought out into the world and shared with the world. And that's how my career really took off and let me do all the things I'm doing and has now brought me here to this podcast. So, with that whole journey of coming into mediumship and all the things I went through, now as I sit here in 2022, retired from doing public readings, still connected to spirit, still loving the energies of the other side, feeling the veil, being very open, so open this year. Because as I mentioned before in previous podcasts, the world is so disrupted right now within the living realm where they're dismantling every aspect of how we do life here on Mother Earth. It disrupts the spirit realm, the angelic realm, the alien realm, all the realms, the fairy realms, all of it. And for us that are sensitive, it disrupts us. So it brings us to that place where we're more open and empathetic than usual because there is so much disruption on all these different energy levels that we can access the other side so incredibly easy. And I wanted to bring this all to you and share about my journey in case you're walking around going, I am hearing voices. Why? I am knowing things stronger than I've ever known before. Why? I am smelling the scents of my loved ones. And what do I do with that? How do I deal with it? I am not sleeping at night because I'm getting interactions with the dead all night long. What do I do with that? All of these things are questions that I've gotten from my students over the years and just from people getting readings. And because right now the energies are so wide open and so disrupted, I would say to you, Just honor what you're going through. Make sure if you are having spirit interactions right now during all hours, you say to them, I'm sorry. It is not my business hours for connecting to you. You need to leave me alone. Put up a boundary so they do not bother you. If you are having interactions with the angelic realm and the fairy realm, absolutely invite them in to connect with you, to heal you, to work with you. Fairies will come in to lighten and brighten your day. Invite the good ones in. Sometimes there are dark fairies. You don't want them in, but you can leave like little gifts out in your garden. I like to put Keebler cookies out there. I give the fairies elven cookies because I'm funny like that. I also put wind chimes in my garden and around my house on the outside just to keep the energies really fresh. If you're having spirit interactions and you are finding that your loved ones are really trying to connect with you for whatever reason, honor that. Tell them, oh, I'm glad you're connecting with me if in fact it's a good interaction. Thank them for trying to get your attention. They're trying to let you know they're around. If you're hearing music that reminds you of loved ones, they're saying hello. If you're smelling scents of your aunt or your grandma or your dad, I always get Old Spice when my dad comes to visit. I get the smell of strawberry jam when my grandma Hogue comes to visit because she always made strawberry jam in her kitchen. It always makes me smile. It's like I'm sitting there watching TV and I smell strawberry jam. Hi, Grandma. You can really take some of that, oh God, what's going on feeling out of your world when you start looking at the signs and acknowledging them. And if those things are happening at night and it's disrupting your life, you have the power and the energy to say, no, 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 not now. If you want to come interact with me when I'm awake and I can deal with it, come see me in the morning and I will listen and I will interact. But make sure that you put a big bubble of gold light around yourself while that's happening. So you protect your beautiful energy and they cannot jump into your energy. That was a huge problem of mine. Spirits would jump me all the time, and I didn't know what it was or why it was happening. I didn't know how to stop it. I know now, and I stop it on a regular basis because I am just that sensitive. So for you that are struggling with that, you're not crazy. You're interacting with energies that are a higher vibration than you and I are, just walking around as normal people, right? So you have to kind of go to that energy and say, all right, I acknowledge what's going on. I acknowledge who is trying to connect with me. And if it's a good connection, honor it. Take whatever's given, thank them. Like you would have a guest in your house, it would be like that. If it's not a good interaction, it's like a bully or a trespasser coming into your world. Tell them no, kick them out, put your protection up. Then you can handle the energy so much better. Really check in to how to handle your mediumship abilities. If you are hearing voices and you know it's connected to a spirit, pay attention to that. They're trying to get your attention and work with you. If you are having spirit interactions that are scary and they're negative, then it's time to cleanse your house. It's time to cleanse yourself. It's time to put up protection and say, absolutely not, that's not okay with me, and research what to do with negative entities. You're the one in control. You can protect your energy and say, nope, 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 not doing that. If it's positive, acknowledge it. And since it is Litha and summer solstice where the veil is open and the opportunity to really honor our loved ones is right there, make an altar. You can have a little table that you dress up with your loved ones' pictures can light a white candle. You can put mementos there and just really honor them, like Day of the Dead. It's like that, only it's right now with summer solstice, opening up that veil. And for those of you on the other side of the world, with the winter solstice, same deal. It opens the veil wide open. So I want to pull some cards for this summer solstice for you as a general reading for all that are listening. Take what you need, leave the rest. This one just flew out of the deck, the Queen of Discs. Well, that's appropriate for summer solstice. This is the Queen of Money. She is earthy. She is a good worker. She is just very connected to Mother Earth. And she represents, if you're making money or looking at a project, changing jobs, thinking about how you can move yourself forward financially, she is right there to help you do that. She is queen of making money. And then I pulled the Six of Wands, which is whatever project you're thinking about. This is perfect for summer solstice energy. You will have victory. You will be heading to the top of the mountain, and Spirit will be waiting for you right there saying, come on, let's do this. Let's go. And you will be the one who is taking your feminine insights. This applies to you too, men. Your feminine insights, your ability to make money, your energy to create, and taking it to the Six of Wands, where you will be victorious and get to the top of the mountain. And then I also pulled the Strength card. Be confident, let your lion self roar, or more like lioness self, because Litha, summer solstice, is all very feminine, beautiful energy where everything is coming alive. And take that energy to get yourself where you need to be, to stand up for yourself, stay in your power, and know that you are moving forward. This is also moving out of depression. I've got the Eight of Cups. This is like being in that dark, desolate place of despair, and all of a sudden you go, I can do this, or I can do that, and I'm going to make that happen, and my energy is going to move me forward really, really fast. So I'm going to be the Queen of Discs. This is my plan. I'm going to be the Six of Wands, where I'm victorious and I'm moving forward. I'm going to roar like a lion and stay in my strength and my power and come out of this deep, dark place that keeps me crazy stuck. And then I've got another card, which is Justice, where there is a balancing act going on. Whatever you need to do to be victorious and balance the energies, that is helping you. This is also Libra energy, which is all creative and wonderful. But I feel like more stay balanced while you do these things and work for your highest good and work for the enjoyment and the beauty of creating something amazing for yourself. And then I got the Ace of Discs. This is the best money card in the deck, where you are making the kind of money you want to make. So go after it. That's an awesome summer solstice reading. I love that. Yay! All good energy. So my goal for this show is to share about my journey and to really show you that you can deal with whatever energies are coming at you, and to really know that you are in control at all times. I didn't know that when I started. I know it now. And you can actually manage what's coming through. It's really kind of a balancing act to do that. But if you really honor your energy and honor this interaction and then research, research, research. You will be absolutely fine. My friend and peer, Michelle Rothberg, is having a all levels psychic mediumship practice circle on August 14th on Zoom. You can go to her website at www.michellerothbergmedium.com and check that out. Sign up for it. She's also teaching a psychic medium psychic medium beginner class in the fall, September, and you can sign up for that there too. She's amazing and wonderful and just the most beautiful soul you could ever meet, and I'm happy to share her information with all of you. She is just a bright light in the universe. You can find out more about me at witchinghourhatsandgifts.com. That is my website for all things magical that I make, that I do. My podcast is there. If you've missed recordings, you can go listen there if you want to. You can also go to YouTube and check me out there. And if you do, please, please, please subscribe. And I am just so appreciative of all the people listening and commenting and sharing. I'm sending so much love and hugs out to all of you. And if there is a particular show you would like to hear or something you would like to know about, just send me a message. I would love to have feedback. If there's something special that you would like me to dive into, let me know. I love that. I'm wishing all of you an amazing summer solstice season, amazing interactions with those on the other side if you choose to explore that or heighten your own talents. And I wish you all the love the universe has to offer. Be well, brightest blessings, stay magical, and I'll see you next time.